You know, there are mistakes. They're okay because you're a beginner, and then you become more advanced and it's too late. They are ingrained in your brain and it is such a hassle to relearn them. We're gonna talk about these today and we're gonna make sure that it never happens to you. Bonjour tout le monde, I'm Cassie, your French tutor, so you can discover France the French way. And today we're gonna talk about these small mistakes. They're small when you're a beginner, like people will be okay, they understand, but then you become more advanced and you start to talk with people who may not familiar with, you know, non-French speaking people, and they don't really understand. So today we're gonna tackle them from the very beginning and we will make sure that you never have to relearn them. Because again, that is such a hassle. Alors t'es prêt? On y va. Oh, and of course, I'm keeping the worst mistake for the end. So you know, I keep your attention. One mistake that I hear a lot from my intermediate or advanced student is, well, structure a sentence with the verb manquer. So manquer is to miss, and you will say that's pretty easy. You're wrong. You're wrong, because the structure with this one will be exactly the opposite of the English structure. In English, you have, well, the person who's feeling the emotion, I, then the verb, miss, and then what I miss, maybe you, maybe French bread, maybe whatever. But let's say, I miss you. I miss you. But in French, it's trickier than that, because we actually reverse. We switch the subject and the object. The person who's feeling the absence is actually the object of the sentence. What is missed becomes the subject. So, could you guess how that works? Let's say, I miss you. That would become tu me manques. And I know, but Cassie, usually the object is going after the verb. And you can all admire my French accent. So here it is, because it is a pronoun. This kind of feeling is felt by, well, living beings, not only humans. Like, I can be a cat feeling that. So we will use pronoun. You cannot say tu manques à moi. We're gonna use pronouns. And when you replace something or someone with a pronoun, it goes before the verb. Hence, tu me manques. But if you miss me, and I know you do, if you miss me, that would be je te manque. Je t'ai vraiment manqué pendant tes vacances. Tu m'as vraiment manqué pendant tes vacances. And I'm starting with this one to make sure that, you know, there is no confusion when you speak with French people. That could be awkward. We have one that I put on the list because I'm always kind of laughing when my students use it. I will tell you why. So, my second point, see, I'm laughing just thinking about it, but you will get it, I swear. So, the second point is visiter et rendre visite. Both in English mean to visit. Well, it seems pretty easy, but they're not the same. I cannot stop laughing. It won't be as funny for you, I'm so sorry. But please don't judge me. Anyway, so, visiter, je visite, it goes for places, monuments, museum, landmarks, whatever. It has to be a location. You visit a location. Again, je visite un musée. Je visite, I don't know, even if you're visiting a house that you want to buy or rent, je visite une maison. It's all about the location. But when you visit someone, please don't say je visite. It sounds extremely nasty. Like you're exploring them a certain way, like please don't. Especially with family members, like, I mean, I love my students so much and they are not doing that on purpose, but I cannot help myself but laughing. Which is kind of nice now because when I start to giggle, they know how to correct themselves. But again, when it is for someone, you would say rendre visite. So the verb you conjugate is rendre, and then visite, it is the noun, doesn't change. And you would say je rends visite à, the preposition will be à, whomever. Je rends visite à ma mère, je rends visite à mon grand-père. Whomever. Je rends visite à des amis. J'ai rendu visite, if you want to say that in the past. Je vais rendre visite in the future. But don't visit them. Tu les visites pas. Je vais visiter mes grands-parents. Je vais rendre visite à mes grands-parents. For the third point, I actually never really thought of it before I discuss it with my students. And it is the difference between rencontrer, retrouver, et rejoindre. And all of them, you can translate them with to meet. So you can understand the confusion with my students. And again, when you're used to one verb, when you get to an advanced level, it is hard to remember the others. Because instantly you will go to the verb you know, rencontrer, and not the others, even though the context will require the other verbs, either rejoindre ou retrouver. Why are they different and how do we use them? I'm glad you asked. Rencontrer is only for the first time. You didn't know the person before? You meet them, tu le rencontres. J'ai rencontré mon nouveau collègue. Now, when you already know the person and you're gonna meet them somewhere, tu vas les retrouver. Retrouver. And when there is that idea of joining them, like physically, you move and you're gonna gather with your friends or I don't know whom, rejoindre. To be fair, rejoindre, retrouver, you can use one or the other. Like they technically have a different meaning. Not quite sure every French person knows there is a different meaning. I had to look it up. Je vais rencontrer mes amis au café. Je vais retrouver mes amis au café. This one may not seem that important, but in terms of context, it can be hard to understand what you mean if you say je rencontre des amis. Like, are you going to meet a group or something? Like, it can make the communication quite hard if you're talking to French speakers. So, better to learn that now. Hey, I'm teasing you. You know when I say I keep the worst for the end, so that would be after. It is the use of pour. I'm sure you're using it, and you're using it wrong. We'll see that in a few minutes. For the next one, I think the word is false friends. At least in French, that would be faux amis. And there are words that are extremely similar in French and English, but they don't mean the same thing. And it is especially true for adverbs. So when you want to say actually, it won't be actuellement in French. If you use actually at the beginning of the sentence, it is extremely likely that in French, from France. That is something we do a lot in France. Apparently they have more vocabulary than us in other French-speaking countries. Something we say a lot is en fait. Actually, blah blah blah, en fait, blah blah blah. That's how it works. To be fair, I did not write any example for this one, so you're gonna have to fill in the blah blah blah. Actuellement is currently. But actuellement, I kind of hear that on TV or like formal occasion. In French, I would say en ce moment. Yeah, sounds better. Sounds more casual or more common. And another one like that is effectivement. It is not effectively. No. Effectivement will be something more like indeed. Effectivement, c'est comme ça. Indeed. That's like that. That's how it works. Not effectively. It really doesn't mean that. Effectively will be efficacement. So, completely different. Actuellement, j'étudie le français tous les jours. Effectivement, j'étudie le français tous les jours. And yeah, I know, it gets confusing. I get it, no worries. But think that for French people, it is the same when they learn English. So we're all in the same boat here. Okay, and the last one. The one I promised you. Pour. I hear that one so often, and because it is so small, you know, it is easy to get lost in a sentence and we never correct it. And especially because most of the time with the context we understand what the person means. And I think it is not a good idea to never be corrected with that one, because then it will stick and you will make the mistake again and again and again. So most English speakers, they use pour as its direct translation, for. But for in English can be used for duration. I've done that for so long. I've done that for 3 years. In French, no. Pour is for the purpose or the goal, not the duration. For the duration, you could say pendant. I've seen durant in textbooks. I've never heard it in France. It does exist. I saw it written somewhere. Never heard it in the streets. So, pendant. J'ai fait ça pendant 3 ans. For 3 years. J'ai étudié le français pour 3 ans. J'ai étudié le français pendant 3 ans. Or, if the action is still going on, for example, I've been living in Nantes for 4 months, that would be je vis à Nantes, so present, because it's happening right now. Je vis à Nantes depuis 4 mois. So, depuis when the action is still ongoing, pendant if the action is done already and in the past, or will happen in the future. Pendant, past and future, depuis, présent. Et pour, again, it is the purpose or the goal. J'ai étudié le français pour pouvoir découvrir la France. So now that you know all them, it's okay if you still make the mistake, but at least I'm pretty sure you will realize that. And by practicing and practicing, you will just stop making that mistake once and for all. That's already quite some French to study for today, but for later, if you need a 1-month structure plan, I advise that you watch this video next. À la semaine prochaine, salut!